Hello, everybody, and welcome to Sake Revolution. This is America's first sake podcast, and I am your host, John Puma from the Sake Notes, also the administrator over at the Internet Sake Discord. Please come down and have a drink with us every Thursday night.
And I am your host, Timothy Sullivan. I'm a sake samurai, sake educator, as well as the founder of the Urban Sake website. And every week, John and I will be here tasting and chatting about all things sake and doing our best to make it fun and easy to understand. All right, John. Well, I think it's time for a little more crosstalk. As you know, every week we say we are America's first sake podcast, but there are many wonderful sake podcasts all around the world. And I thought it might be fun if we chat with some other sake podcast hosts.
Yeah, that was a pretty good idea you had there, Tim.
Yeah. And today we have two more very special guests joining us. And they are some amazing sake podcasters out of Japan. And John, let me introduce you and our listeners to Giulia Maglio and Cindy Bissig of Sake Unplugged. Welcome, ladies. So good to see you.
Well, thanks for having us. We're super excited to be here today. Hi, guys.
Hello.
Great. Now, if you'll indulge me just a moment, I have a little introduction for each of you to give some of our listeners a little bit of your background. So we'll start with Giulia. Giulia, you were raised in Italy and you moved to Japan in 2015, where you started working in the tourism industry, running local food tours. Now, I understand this exposed you to sake, and that's where you began to study sake seriously. And you have achieved many prestigious sake certifications. And in 2020, you founded your own sake website, ggsake.com. And there you post your sake blog and you promote your fabulous in-person sake events. And you also have had the amazing opportunity to work as a sake brewer at Itakura Shuzo in Shimane Prefecture. And for Cindy, you were born in Switzerland and you spent many years of your life in Ireland. You worked in the hospitality industry, and about 5 years ago, you moved to Japan. And you became a digital nomad working as a writer, photographer, and social media pro. And you also developed your own knowledge around Japanese sake and earned the title of sake sommelier. Now you're an all-around expert in all things Japan, food, and travel. And you record your sake adventures on your website, sakenomad.com. Since 2021, Giulia and Cindy have partnered up and started their own sake podcast called Sake Unplugged, where they publish their episodes weekly, and they take us, as they say, on a sake journey and show us behind the sake curtain. So I cannot wait to hear from them what's behind the sake curtain.
Thank you for this wonderful introduction.
So getting right into things, obviously during Tim's intro, got into kind of how you guys came to be associated with Japan and how you connected with that country and that culture. But sake podcast, what made that happen? How did you guys decide that that was going to be what you did?
Well, it's kind of funny. I'm also associated with another podcast, and I've been listening to a lot of sake podcasts for a while. And then I just kind of felt like there wasn't a lot of female sake podcasts out there. And I really felt like I wanted to have that perspective, to share kind of a little bit of a different story. I didn't know Giulia very well at this point, but we were kind of connected. And when I thought about it, the first person I wanted to do it was her. And I really much reached out there and said, Giulia, do you want to do this? And she was like, yes. And then I think within a month, we pretty much just started Sake Unplugged, and everything just kind of fell into place.
Yeah, because we started seeing each other in the same places and the same sake events in person, but well, because of COVID, of course, mostly online. So we started chatting, and we knew that we had a lot in common, and we just clicked for some reason. We have a half brain each, so when we're together, always work. So we put our half brains together, and now we're complete. But then, so yeah, everything started. We have a very similar point of view.
Mm-hmm.
It really kind of like complete each other in a way. So it's natural for us, like one of us do half of the job and the other one do half of the job or something. So it's fun.
Yeah. So
Nice.
when you guys were putting together the idea for Sake Unplugged, what were your goals for the podcast, and what did you want your listeners to come away with when you were kind of developing the show? What was your idea behind that?
Well, for me, I think I wanted to do kind of two things. And I think it goes back to what Giulia said. We have the same sort of values and what we want, but then we come from a different place. So I know because Giulia is an educator, and that's kind of where she's really, really strong. I think we always wanted it to be partly educational, but we didn't want it to go too specific. Like we wanted it to be open for many people from many entrance points in the sake world. And from my point of view, I really wanted to showcase people of the industry. Like I really wanted to get people over and talk to them and shine a little bit of light on what they're doing, because I like to talk, but I also get a bit tired of hearing myself talking too much. So I'm always we have guests because everybody else does the talking, and it's just so nice to discover people who do so many lovely things for the sake industry.
I just let Tim do all the talking usually.
Someone has to do the talking. You have to be a podcast.
And Giulia, what about for you? What were your ideas when you were coming into developing the podcast?
I think one of the most important things for me, but I can say really for the both of us, is that we wanted to create a space for all the people that decide to love sake or they love sake already, and they want to listen to not a slightly new perspective, but without going too, can we say, geeky about it?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, totally.
Easy to listen to, still informative, but easy to listen to. So you don't have to be already a sommelier or have to be a sake professional to be able to listen to our podcast. It can be at the very beginning of your sake journey or just curious, and still being able to listen and enjoy and, maybe find something new. That was really, really important. And we wanted to both create also like a fun space.
Oh, yeah.
Not just like 100% educational, but also, a place for listeners to just like relax. They don't have to feel like they have to take notes all the way August or something like that. That was the most important thing for me, but I mean, for both of us.
Yeah, that's great. Sometimes I start my webinars saying, sake is fun. Don't forget, sake is fun.
Tim, when you put it that way, I don't know how people can come away with any other perspective.
Because that's what we always say. We're like, you can learn about it, and that's one part of it. And you go to the rabbit hole, and you can go as far as you want, and you go into amino acids and yeast and all of that. But at the end of the day, you want to go and drink sake with your friends and enjoy it, right? It's all about the taste
Totally.
and the company, and yeah.
And plus, maybe adding a little bit of more like artistic note to it. So we always love to talk about like the art that goes into the labels. That's another thing that, especially Cindy, she's really into that, the labels. And there's a lot of sake breweries out there that also either related to music, or, as you guys know, they also use music to brew their sake. So music is another big part of what sake Unplugged is, hence the name.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah, a lot of action in your opening track, by the way. That's pretty slaps a bit.
well, I mean, your opening is super cool as well, and have rock.
Oh, no, your opening super cool.
No, your opening.
It's not a competition. You can both have.
Yeah, I know.
Right?
So we love talking to our guests about the moment when sake really spoke to them, that aha moment, that experience that makes you decide that this is going to be something you're going to pursue more. And we want to ask what your aha moments were.
Oh, that's a very good question. There were for me a lot of these aha moments for sure. The first one that happened to me was so I tried sake in Italy first, like
Really? Okay.
all of us. I guess we coming from Europe, we had our first sake in our own country, but it was not a good experience. It was quite no, I don't even know what that was. Anyway, in Italy, up until really like a few years ago, it was always piping hot, and it never really showed you what's like the bottle, what's in it. So you never really knew what was into that ceramic container. And so first time I came to Japan, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna try it here and see, maybe it's different, who knows? And they brought me cold sake. At first, I was like, did they forget to warm it up, or what's happening here? But when I asked about it, I remember them telling me, oh, it can be enjoyed chilled or room temperature or warm, but this one is really nice served chilled. And that was probably the first time I was like, oh, well, okay, I just learned something. Okay, and it was, of course, delicious. I don't remember what that was, unfortunately. So that's probably a bit of a regret, because I wish it changed everything. But that was the first aha moment for me.
And you, Cindy?
Well, I kind of have a slightly different story, although it also started with me not necessarily liking sake when I was drinking it abroad. However, when I came to Japan, I came with the idea of building a business. So I always been obsessed with Japan since I've been a child, and I like many aspects of Japanese culture. So when I came here, I came to learn Japanese and hopefully start a business. And I had the very unique idea of promoting Japan through food and drink, right? It's like nobody else came up with this, but I thought this is good. So I saw all the bottles, and I realized how important sake was for the Japanese culture. And living in Ireland, I also know that everything happens in the pub. Like, life happens in the pub. That's where you make friends, that's where you laugh. It's where you cry. So I really wanted to introduce Japan through like that experience of eating and drinking. And I kind of set out to learn everything about Japanese sake, but some of the tours that I went to weren't that great until I had the pleasure of signing up to a course that was at Temple University in Tokyo, held by Sebastian Lemoine. And it was an introduction to sake, and he would bring every week 7 to 8 sakes, Kutsushu, or super high end. I think we also had Brooklyn Kura, we had Senkuro. So it was a really great mix of sake. And he had one sake, and it was Senkin's organic truck. And it changed everything for me. Because when I drank it, I just couldn't place it, and I never had sake like this before. And to such an extent, I took a picture, and I've been literally telling everybody for 3 months about this sake. Like, he's next to me in the bus, and I literally showed a picture of the sake and said, you should drink this. Like, that's how much I fell in love with it. And I still have very fond memory of it, and whenever I see Senkin, I get really excited. And obviously, between this and now, I've had a lot of other great sake, but this really was like one moment out of many to follow that I still cherish quite clearly.
We all remember our first love, for sure. Now, you mentioned you're both coming from a European background, but you both live long-term in Japan, and you're promoting and teaching sake from Japan. What is your view currently of the state of sake in Europe, and any thoughts on where sake in Europe is headed?
Well, definitely sake is becoming more and more popular in a lot of countries. Of course, we have to make a little bit of general topic about it, can't talk about each specific countries. There are some countries, of course, they're like bigger than others in sake. Like I'm thinking the UK, for example. I don't know about Switzerland, but also in Italy, little by little, it's becoming more and more popular. Of course, when you talk about Europe, there's a lot of wine countries there.
Yeah.
So that can be viewed as a competition in a way. But because they're wine countries and people have been drinking wine forever, I guess a lot of people is really curious to try something different.
Yes.
All right.
That's a really good point.
That is not going to replace wine, of course, but it's going to be a nice substitute for wine. So I see a very bright future for some other countries.
And Giulia, you're doing some promotion in Italy, right? You have your Sake Sisters website. Can you tell us a little about that?
Yes, so that is a project that I started with my Italian girlfriend. She's a wine sommelier. So we're both into the beverage world, in the drink world, if you will. And we're both, of course, she also really into Japanese culture. She recently became a sake sommelier as well. So our goal is really to try to make sake not just like a small niche, but then again, having more and more people even just trying sake, you know? You
Yeah,
just
that's great.
you try my big hope, my wish, and one of the goals I'm working towards is actually to bring Akurashuzo to Italy. So
Oh,
fingers
wow.
crossed.
So Itakura Shuzo, that's the brewery where you've been working as a brewery worker, as a kurabito.
Yes. Yes.
And you want to bring that sake to Italy. That's going to be such a special moment for you, I'm so sure.
Yeah. So I'm working with them now to make their English page on their website. So that's already, like little step.
Yeah.
One step at a time, but we'll see. Hands forward for all of us. So we'll see.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
So podcasting is a little different from a lot of other digital mediums. Like you guys have done, I'm sure you've done websites before and blogs and videos and whatnot. Podcasting is a little unique because it's a little bit more of almost like a radio show in a way. One thing that we've learned over the last couple of years is that it is really difficult to do every week in and out. What have been the biggest challenges for the two of you recording and producing and getting a weekly podcast out there?
There's many challenges, but I think for us, the most part is because we're not in the same place, right? We have very demanding schedules because, Giulia is an educator. She has her courses and she does events now. As Japan is slowly opening up, you're a lot busier with evenings and you're having your Italian dinners. And so finding the time and the place has been quite difficult because I'm traveling most of the times, right? And I work for other companies and I promote sake in various fields and ways. So for us to kind of find the time and the space to record and then to get it out in time, because I personally am super kibishi. I'm very strict on getting. She's the Swiss, right? So she's. I'm like, it's 8:00 on Thursday. This has to be out. I get really angry.
She's right. I can be sometimes too Italian about it. It's type thing, so I have to.
Tim, this is all sounding a little familiar.
This sounds familiar, yes. Yes.
Tim, are you at all Swiss?
Our publish date kind of moves back and forth a little bit. We do weekly-ish.
We have to be flexible with our demanding schedules.
Yes, absolutely.
No, see, I think the one thing that I've been very concise on is that I wanted it to be consistent because I've been doing other projects, and I think the downfall of a lot of projects is when you start getting inconsistent, you start prioritizing other things. And I really wanted to make sure that if we're doing this, that we're both on the same page, that it's happening in a certain way and that we can. Is a priority for both of us,
Yeah, if we start skipping a week or something, it's gonna be like, oh, but also next time we can skip a week, or So slippery.
Then you can skip. What's 2 weeks then?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So no.
Now, so we can definitely identify with that. I think that for us, getting an episode out every week has been. John and I have become closer friends, and we've gotten to know so many more sakis. It's amazing when you do something every week.
Everything that's random. No, but it's really funny. One reason for us to also do it every week, for me personally, was to keep the ball rolling. Because I realized during the pandemic, I didn't have so many chances to go and drink sake. And a lot of times, I felt like a bit sluggish about my knowledge, and I felt like I wasn't as pushed as to want to discover. So when we started this, it was like, no, now every week I'm deepening my understanding for sake, and I'm getting to try new things and talk to someone I really like about sake and hang out. And it just all made sense, So I think this is a reason that we didn't kind of told you about earlier on when we started.
Yeah. That's awesome. So as of this recording, you have released 25 episodes, some educational content, some interviews, some sake tastings. I'd like to hear from each of you. what episodes and what type of content is really your favorite? What's really stood out for you?
Oh my God. It's like asking me which one is my favorite child or something. Can I ask me that? I wasn't really psychological. No. Well, of course, I'm doing interviews is super interesting because you really don't know what brought people to sake, what happened to people's lives, and everybody's is so different. So it is really interesting to hear like everybody's story. So that is one of the that's really interesting. But also we sometimes do like sake reviews as well, and that is also interesting for I think for both of us was as she was saying before, it's also an excuse for us to study more. I can't choose. I'm sorry. I cannot give you a definite answer. Stevie, what is yours?
Well, we talked about our half brains, right? And I'm on the same page. I mean, as I said earlier, I think interviews and spotlight on other people's is really important for me. I think it also gives us a chance to understand better what's happening. And it's just nice to see what people are up to, because I think a lot of times we don't hear about them. You know, there's the stories are not always told. So I think recently we talked to Yumika, that Giulia was working with, I think the Kurashuzo, and I just remember it because it's so recent, but also because it was lovely to have a Japanese guest on it. And I quite like the fact that the episode was kind of half Japanese, half English. And it's something that we haven't done before. And I really liked it because I think it was very unique and it was very different from what a lot of podcasts are out there. And we're in Japan, so I do feel there's a place for this, and I would like to kind of do more of that. But aside from them, I like to talk to all our guests, and everybody had their unique stories. And the more we can get it out, the happier we are, and it gives us a chance to recycle. So we're pretty open about what we talk about as long as it's within our ideology of things, right?
Yes.
So it is everybody's favorite part of the show. I think we're all in agreement here. And today we are going to be tasting, it is a little tricky sometimes to track down sake that we can get in America and also readily available in Japan. But we did it. We succeeded. And we are going to be drinking the Nambu Bijin Tokubetsu Junmai. This is from Nambu Bijin Brewery over in Iwate Prefecture. This is, of course, a Tokubetsu Junmai using Ginnotome rice. It's a local Iwate jam. It's milled down to 55% of its original size. That's where you get that Tokubetsu part. The sake meter value is +4, and the alcohol percentage is a very reasonable 15.5%. Very nice. This sake actually, if you buy it in the States, you will definitely see a tag on it. It'll let you know that it won the Champion Sake of 2017 at the IWC International Wine Challenge.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and get this Nambu Bijin Tokubetsu Junmai into the glass.
Yes. I think we've mentioned this in the past that recently Nambu Bijin adopted a new labeling style that is very color-coded.
Yes. The butterfly flew away.
The butterfly
new
is
label.
gone, yes.
The new label looks like a samurai mon. Very distinguished label.
So the Tokubetsu Junmai is just a red label with their logo and their family crest in gold. And I think it is very classy and very nice.
Very stately. Very stately.
There you go.
Yes. Now, Giulia and Cindy, do you have any existing experience with Nambu Bijin? Have either of you visited the brewery or had this sake before? What's your experience so far with Nambu Bijin?
So I had Nambu Bijin before. I actually had the same one, the Tokubetsu Junmai that we are drinking together today. And I recently also bought another Tokubetsu Junmai from their lineup, but it's made with omachi rice.
Ooh.
I want that.
I'm a big omachi fan, so I didn't need any extra information. So when they told me Nambu Bijin, Tokubetsu Junmai, and omachi, I was like, shut up and take my money.
Say no more.
Take my money.
I have to get that one of these days. I don't think I've ever tasted that before.
So you guys do have some advantages living in Japan. I will say that.
Not playing their advantages, Reg.
Well, let's look at this in the glass. It has, just for us here in the States, it has just a hint of a yellow color, just a slight tinge. It's not crystal clear in that regard. And giving it a smell. So nice. What do you think, John?
Yeah, there's a very specific tropical fruit that I cannot identify on the nose, and it's driving me crazy. Like, I know it's like right there. It's like not quite. It's not a pineapple. It's like a papaya, maybe. But I like it. It is a tropical fruit, and I like it. Giulia, Cindy.
We have to mention that for us it's 9 a.m, so we are.
This is our
And
breakfast.
we really appreciate you taking some time out to drink with us at 9 a.m.
Me too.
Yeah, only for you guys. Okay. We would never drink this early in the morning. No, but
Never.
I do feel what you're saying. There's this Lamborghini, but in general, like Lamborghini tends to have a lot of really fruity notes. So it goes from like pear to mango to lychee. There's a lot of different fruits going on there. White peach. I don't know if it's my 9 a.m. brain speaking or something. What do you guys think?
I think it might have been mango that I was thinking about earlier now.
Oh,
I
mango.
think it's the power of suggestion.
I'm convincing you it's mango.
Yes, think mango. So let's give it a taste.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really nice and smooth, and I can understand why this is viewed as such a crowd pleaser type of sake. Like, it's really popular and very accessible, and the texture here is really, really nice for Tokubetsu Junmai. I just love it.
Yeah. I mean, I think there's something to those crowd-pleasing sakes like this, that like they're crowd-pleasing for a reason, because they're delicious, they're wonderful, and this is really tasty. It is something that you can just sip and sip and sip, which is, a little dangerous, but a very good thing.
Nice medium body as well. Not too light, not too strong. Great medium-bodied sake, and the price point is also really affordable, which is such an interesting point when you think about how accessible a sake can be. This one is a really great introduction to the whole lineup of Nambu Bijin. They make a Daiginjo sake milled to 40% that is bonkers and so yummy and so good, and tropical fruits to the extreme. And this is like a step in that direction. So I really love introducing people to this sake first, and then maybe taking them to another Nambu Bijin sake.
Definitely. I mean, this one is really well balanced because it is a rich sake, but it's also refreshing in a way, especially in the aftertaste. So, yeah, that's probably, I guess, one of the reasons why it's so popular. And we were saying it can be dangerous because it's quite easy to enjoy. We were talking about this recently, like this way of describing sake as easy to enjoy, which tells you nothing, but tells you actually a lot about a sake. This one is definitely on the dry side, but it has all these beautiful fruity flavors to it. So that's also really well balanced. You have all these fruits and tropical fruits, but it also has a hint of dryness.
Yeah. That kind of sake, we say it's really well integrated. All the different aspects kind of balance out.
That's how we at with our easy to drink, right? When you just keep going back for more and you find different things. And I know earlier you guys said this had a relatively fair alcohol content of 15%, and you don't feel it, right? I think this is and it's like, wow, this is very tasty, a little bit sweet and a little bit vanilla, and it doesn't really punch you in the face when you drink it, but it is dangerous because it is actually quite alcoholic, but there's no real taste of it, right? I think I quite enjoyed that.
So while we're sipping on this sake and enjoying the Nambu Bijin balance, I wanted to ask both of you one more question. what is next for your podcast? Do you have any exciting projects or any exciting episodes you can give us a sneak peek about, or anything coming up we should know?
Well,
Ah,
we have a few things. I mean, obviously, we're continuing our interview sessions and we're doing a lot more international guests, and we're trying to get also more breweries and brewers on board and talk to them. But I guess a little bit further down the road, and with Japan opening up and everything feeling rather normal these days here in Tokyo and around the country, I think one of the things we always wanted to do from the very start, and again, the name Unplugged kind of says it, we always wanted to do events. So we wanted to do in-person events that we combine with aspects of art and aspects of music and bring people to different locations. So that's definitely something we have been talking about recently a lot more. So I think hopefully towards the end of the year, we're at the point where we can have guests with us and bring them some sake that we found from around the country and have these events. So that's kind of our biggest sort of in the making.
very nice.
Sounds fantastic.
Yeah, I'm really excited about that and doing events, meeting people and having unplugged events. So it's not just going to be just voice, but it's going to also going to be something in person. I think we're all missing the in-person part of our like meeting people, exchanging stories, exchanging sake. So we cannot wait for that.
That's awesome. That sounds so
Yeah.
great.
So we hope that you guys get to come over here at some point, and then we can have you at one of these, and we can do a little in-person kampai, and as it should be, right? And
As soon as they open those borders, I am there.
You can come here. This is almost like this became the Sake Unplugged house, basically. Because we have our new fridge with our sake. Cindy's always bringing over sake or something. But this is not my fridge or my room. This is our room, our fridge. So it's we're sharing a house.
Tim, we don't share a fridge.
No, we don't.
It's a big commitment, guy. Like, you're
We
ready.
share our Zoom channel. That's pretty much it.
we have like shared custody. This is a big deal for us, right?
Shared custody.
It has been amazing having you two on the show. I really hope that our listeners will go and give you two a listen. Where can our intrepid listeners find you guys on the internet?
Yeah, we're kind of everywhere. You can go.
All right. Well, that's it.
We're covering all the bases. So we're on Facebook, we're on Instagram. We have a whole page. It's basically for everything Sake Unplugged. So whether you go to www.sakeunplugged.com, Sake Unplugged is our handle on Instagram and on Facebook. And hopefully soon you find a flyer or you see a poster where there's also going to be the Sake Unplugged events, right? So we're really working on a lot of things, and we're just trying to share what we do as much as we can.
Excellent. Well, we'll be sure to link to all of your social media and to your episodes in our show notes. So any listeners who would like to check out Sake Unplugged, you can visit the Sake Revolution show notes, and you'll have all the links readily accessible right there. Thank you so much for joining us. And I would also like to thank our patrons who have supported our show. And if you would like to become a patron and support Sake Revolution, you can visit us at patreon.com/Sake Revolution.
And if you have very important sake-related questions, or maybe not even sake-related questions for us, you want to ask us where we find our amazing guests, where we pick up our sake, that kind of thing, you can reach out to us at feedback@sakerevolution.com. So, until next time, everybody, please raise a glass. Remember to keep drinking sake and kampai.